2008 was the last time that the Detroit Pistons won a playoff game. That is absurd. Lollipop by Lil Wayne was the top song on the Billboard Hot 100 the last time that the Pistons won a playoff game. It was before Boom Boom Pow was released by the Black Eyed Peas. I thought that they had won one in 2009, so that's why I know that, because that's what the answer to this question would have been had 2009 been the answer. But it has been 16 goddamn years since the Pistons won anything at all. And currently, they did not position themselves in a good position to win anything else anytime soon, because this offseason they had a lot of cap space. They had a lot of cap to spend, a lot of things that they needed to get done, and they were like, you know what, we're just not going to do much. So they went out and they signed Tobias Harris to a 2-year, $52 million contract, which is way too much for Tobias Harris. They went out and they traded for Tim Hardaway Jr. They claimed Paul Reed off waivers, and they drafted Ron Holland. And Ron Holland is good, right? I'm not saying he's not. He was number 3 on my board, personally, and I think he has a lot of upside. But I'm a lot lower on him now because he went to the Pistons. The Pistons are the worst spot he could have gone because he is not a good shooter. You need spacing around him. And you know what the Pistons don't have? They have Cade Cunningham, who's a pretty decent shooter, but he shoots 35% on not a ton of attempts, and that was a career high, so he's not exactly a super good floor spacer. And then they have Tobias Harris, who I guess is sort of a floor spacer, but he shot 35% too. And then Asar Thompson, not a shooter. Paul Reed, not a shooter. Isaiah Stewart and Simone Fontecchio are maybe their 2 best shooters, because they are going to be playing Asar Thompson, Ron Holland, Jalen Duren lineups. Those are 3 non-spacers. 3 non-spacers on the same floor. I don't know how you can look at that and expect to be like, you know what? They won 17 games last season and they didn't fix any of the issues. They needed more shot creation. What? Tim Hardaway Jr. as your shot creator? Tobias Harris? No. They went out and they signed bad players to expensive contracts. They still have Evan Fournier on the roster. Sad, man. I feel really bad for Pistons fans because, are you guys okay? Are you doing all right, man? They won 17 games last season. I don't think they're going to win above 25 this season. And even if they win 25, that's still an 8-game improvement, which is good by normal standards. But if you're a Pistons fan, you're like, damn, we haven't won anything at all in 16 years and we can't even get over 25. They haven't won over 25 games since before the pandemic. The last time was 2018-19, which was the Blake Griffin year where he gave his knee to get swept in the first. You know what? Cue Pistons Blake highlights, because we need some good shit for the rest of this video. So enjoy these highlights. But either way, what the fuck are they doing, man? What are the Pistons doing? So let's talk a bit about their roster construction, how they got all these players, where they came from, where they go, where they came from, Cotton Eye Joe. So Cade Cunningham is the one player you're good NBA player. At least you can say that guy is a good NBA player, because you can't really say that about much of this roster. But Cade is someone who was a former first overall pick. You know, they got him in the 2021 draft, where I would argue he doesn't go 1 in a redraft. I'd probably take Scotty Barnes over him. I'd probably take Franz Wagner over him. I'd take a couple of players over him. Maybe Şengün, maybe Mobley. But he's good. You know, he's not a bad pick there. He's coming off a season where he averaged 22.7 points, 7.5 assists on 45, 35, 87 splits. That puts him at a 54.6 shooting percentage. So not efficient by any means, but that is, and they didn't have a ton of that. And he's someone who can set his teammates up for success. He's good at getting guys involved, at scoring himself. He's just a good offensive player. He's not a good defender, I wouldn't say, but he does get, he's not an awful defender. So he's a good all-around player, sort of a jack of all trades. I assume he'd be better if they gave him more spacing. You know, that would probably up his efficiency, give him more. If you gave him a secondary shot creator, that would give him someone as a release valve, which the idea behind Jaden Ivey was sort of that. And I was high on Jaden Ivey. I still am. I still think he's going to be good. But so far, he hasn't done what you really would have hoped for. Last season, he did it pretty inefficiently, shooting a 53-point shooting percentage, a decent amount of threes up, and shoots them at like a 33 to 34% clip, depending on the year. So it's not like he's a non-factor from outside, but teams aren't going to be really worried about him. And a lot of his juice as a prospect came from, oh shit, he's lightning quick. He can probably do a lot of, you know, shot creation stuff. And like as a secondary shot creator, he could do a lot of that stuff, but and he was fine off ball. But like ideally, you were like, okay, here's the ball, Jaden Ivey. We're going to clear out slash. And with Cade needing the ball as much as he does, it pretty significantly hinders Jaden Ivey's ability to like create on ball, and he hasn't been able to develop that as much. That's like his best release valve, at least from last year. Now you look at this roster, I mean, it might still be Jaden Ivey. His other options are, let's see here, Tobias Harris, Evan Fournier, Tim Hardaway Jr. Oh God, like it's just not pretty. Malik Beasley, I guess, you know, can maybe do some shot creation, but he's more of a catch and shoot. They did add Malik Beasley as a floor spacer. The Troy Weaver stank never left the room here, man. And it's very clear to me that the Pistons just don't know what they're doing. They didn't get good defenders. They got one good shooter. They overpaid Tobias Harris. I just don't know what they're really looking at. But that's sort of all I have time to record for this video, so I'm going to cut it short here. I will be back soonish, but I have some stuff I have to get to later today, so hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a good one. Bye.